Mazda's shown up fashionably late to the EV party, and in their case, they've brought their 2022 MX-30, their first ever full electric vehicle. In this video, I'm going to talk about why it's one of the most important, if not the most important vehicle they've released in the past few years, and secondly, why it doesn't deserve as much criticism as it's been getting. Powering the MX-30 is a 35.5 kilowatt-hour battery. It's got 143 horsepower and torque comes in at 200 foot-pound, and it's got a 1-speed transmission, and it's front-wheel drive only. Peculiar at first, but if Mazda launched their first EV that only has 161 kilometers of range with an all-wheel drive system, the cost goes up, the weight goes up, and then your range goes down. Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 are available. Now, all of these figures are going to be the 20% to 80% range. So on a level 1 charger, which is what you have at home, you plug your microwave, your air fryer, your guitar amp, in my case, into them. It's 13 hours and 40 minutes. If you find a level 2 charger, which is what you can get installed in your home and the majority of public charging stations, that number goes down to 2 hours and 50 minutes. And if you're fortunate enough to find a level 3 charger, the 20% to 80% range is only 36 minutes. On the road, the MX-30 fares very well. It still has that initial burst of torque that all EVs have, but it's not nearly as quick off the line as some of its competitors. It's brisk, but not fast, and Mazda hasn't designed this to be a fast car. Twists and turns and cornering are done pretty well. It's a lower car, lower center of gravity. The batteries are in the floorboards, so you still have that impressive driving dynamic that Mazda is known for. Just a bit of a different version here with an EV compared to all of their other non-EV offerings. Mazda has 5 levels of regen power here, and they're controlled by the paddle shifters attached to the steering wheel. Default setting is 3, which is right in the middle, so you get a little bit of resistance, but not too much that it's going to slow you down as quick as it would be on level 5. If you click your paddle shifter on the right twice, it's no resistance mode. And if my foot comes off the accelerator, there's no tug, there's no pull, and the Mazda MX-30 will just keep coasting. And if I bring that down to level 2, get a little bit of tug. On the flip side, if I use my left hand to pull on my left paddle shifter all the way down to 5, there is a very noticeable reduction in speed. Now, interesting to note, there is no one pedal driving here, so you could hold down that left paddle all you want. It will not bring the MX-30 to a full stop, and I know some other EVs do have that option. That is not available here, at least not right now. What I don't like is the new Hvac system. It's a 7.5-inch screen, and it's set way low down, just in front of the gear selector. Yes, there are hard touch buttons, but every other Mazda has it just below the vents. You don't have to look, you just know where things are. But here, if I want to put my heated seat on, if I want to put my heated steering wheel on, if I want to change the air direction and whatnot, I've got to look down, eyes off the road for a moment, and then back up. I worry that this is going to be the future design language of other Mazdas. I hope it's not, but we'll see. The infotainment, while I wish it had a touchscreen option, is fairly easy to navigate through the rotary dial. Not a lot of menus to dig through. Mazda has made it fairly straightforward, so I don't mind that being a carryover as well. Looking at the dashboard, I wish Mazda would have given me a full digital dash instead of a digital Hvac system. We have 2 analog dials, really easy to read in typical Mazda form. You get that large screen in the middle. And you always have your percentage of battery life left, your kilometer range left, and a few other relevant and important pieces of information. The materials used on the inside of the MX-30 are pretty interesting. We'll start with the cork. And if you're wondering why there's cork here, well, in 1920 Mazda started off as a cork company, and paying homage to themselves, there are some cork inserts here, from the tops of the cup holder lids to the storage cubby just beneath the floating console, and on the top GT trim, you have it on the inside of the door panels. Speaking of the door panels, made out of recycled plastic. Cool move there. And the seats, which are very, very comfortable, have 20% of recycled thread. With the seats up, you have 431 liters of cargo space, and if you fold the rear seats down, you got 1,053. Pretty respectable. Now, the rear seats, not the most spacious. It's still manageable if you want to sit in there. I don't know how long I would sit in there for. I think I'd be good for maybe half an hour, but I could not sit behind myself. Definitely an urban vehicle for a single person, maybe a couple. Sure, you could maybe squeeze a couple of kids in the rear or some very tolerant adults, but primarily this is going to be for 2 passengers. It's their first dipping of the proverbial toes into the EV pool, and they've made this so it's scalable. So I know there's only 161 kilometers of range. I know that almost every other competitor has much more. Mazda has made this so that they can scale up with it, and I think next year they'll have something with either a range extender or a larger battery or some way of upping that 161 kilometers of range. And it's not just going to be an MX-30. They'll scale up in different models as well as the world races towards electrification of their vehicles. Mazda just can't sit back and go, oh, we have an MX-30. The reason the MX-30 holds such importance for Mazda as a brand is because it sets the stage for future plans. Taking a look at the exterior, it's still a Mazda from the front end. It's not quite the same as their existing design language, and you'll notice it's a little more chiseled, a little more refined, but still has Mazda's design elements in it. Wheels look pretty good, nothing overly fancy about them, and we go around to the rear and you get Mazda's signature lighting, and the top trim GT looks pretty sharp. Mazda's still a premium brand, and I like that they haven't gone overboard in designing their first EV. Let's get into why Mazda does not deserve all the criticism they're getting for the MX-30. Mazda never intended this to be anyone's primary car or only car. Mazda's meant this to be your second car, your city car, your urban car, your run around town car. This is not a road trip car by any means. And a lot of people are really drawn to, well, it's only got 161 kilometers of range, whereas the Kona and the Soul and the Ioniq 5 and the ID4 and all of these other EV offerings have range that are at least double, if not more, of what the MX-30 has. But Mazda's never pulled any punches. They've never said this is the be-all and end-all of EVs. And when anything new comes to market in any kind of industry, it's not going to be the latest, greatest, biggest, and best. And I think Mazda's approach here is a smart one. Start off small, get ourselves into the EV market, get a better sense of what our customers want, and then do the scalable architecture to create a longer amount of range through a different amount of vehicles. Mazda says the average Canadian drives about 40 kilometers every day. There's some plus minus there depending on your lifestyle, what you do. If you're doing errands all the time, you're doing a lot of driving, but let's go with that average of 40 kilometers. With that, you could probably get 3 solid drives in before you have to recharge the vehicle. In an urban dwelling, whether it's a downtown metropolis like Mississauga or Toronto or any other big city where there are readily available charging stations close to where you live, the MX-30 makes sense. If you live in Canada and you want an MX-30, you have to live in British Columbia or Quebec to get one. The reason Mazda decided to launch there is in 2020, 75% of all EVs sold in the country were sold in those 2 provinces, so Mazda thought, well, let's go to where the highest amount of consumption is for EVs. The MX-30 comes in 2 trims. There's the GS, which is $42,150, and then there's the higher trim GT, which comes in at $47,150. And some of the highlights there include a sunroof, folding mirrors, you get a 360-degree camera, you have traffic jam assist, you get the Bose upgraded audio system. Mazda's MX-30 is a strong and smart choice for them to enter the EV world. They're not trying to be everything to everyone, and this is certainly not meant to be a primary vehicle. It's meant to be a secondary vehicle, and for those who are current Mazda customers, Mazda's hoping that they'll jump over into the EV world through this. For Driving.ca, I'm Jay Canna. For more news, reviews, and information you can use on EVs, connect with us on our website and engage with us on our social media platforms.